Awesome. Cool. Well, hey, I think we're probably gonna have a few more people hopping on here. I'm really excited because I get to talk to one of my favorite people on this call today, and there's I think a lot of people in this community that should get to know Griffin, as well as Cindy and Amir on the team because number one, they're great people, they're trustworthy, and they do great work. And I won't share too much business, but I will say, like, if you're wanting to get started in real estate, like Griffin is on pace to make over six figures this year. And so, like, the question I would ask myself is like, if I'm spending the time to come to a call, right? What would I do to learn how to make six figures in real estate, right? Because there's a lot of people that like that's their goal, right? And you're getting to talk to someone right now that's like actively doing this, as well as Cindy in here as well, right? So if you're wanting to learn how to do that, he's going to be going over that. Okay. So Griffin, let's go ahead and kind of start, man. Like maybe tell the group like how you kind of even got started in real estate.
Yeah, man. So my dad was a realtor, and just growing up, I've always like learned about real estate through him, and so I think I was just naturally interested. And I became a realtor when I was 19. Joined a real estate group, and that's kind of where I just learned my base knowledge of everything.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really for me. Like I'm 19 years old, and the main thing of being a realtor is like you got to have a sphere of influence that of like people who are ready to buy a house, and I'm like no one's ready to buy a house at 19.
All right.
So it just wasn't working out. And when I did have clients, I didn't love the emotional aspect as much as like the numbers and just making the deal work. So I
Mm,
fell in love with just the investment side and learned about creative finance through you, which I was like super intrigued about,
mm,
and started calling just on market properties with like low equity and doing that for a while, probably like 6 months, and just
yeah.
didn't see too much success with it. That's just me, but I found that there wasn't too much motivation unless it's like low equity and some other type of motivation of like moving out of state or just having to get this house sold for whatever reason.
Hmm.
So didn't really have too much success with that. And then yeah, we started talking and you said that you were starting foreclosures and got on the team. And I think I started last September,
Yeah.
if I'm remembering that right. And
Yeah.
ever since then, it's kind of been a game changer. Learned so much, especially just how to talk to homeowners and how to build trust. And yeah, definitely been a game changer for my real estate career. Super happy with where I'm at right now.
It's awesome, dude. We've
Yeah,
learned a lot together for sure over the last
yeah.
7, 8 months. Cindy, I'm sure would say the same thing, and Amir. Um, so I guess like, but getting into creative when you were already doing traditional and maybe even some traditional investing like cash offers, I don't know context behind that, but like, was there a moment maybe that like kind of flipped the switch for you to like talk about like, hey, maybe let's look at this creative thing?
Well, I actually represented a seller from Texas who was buying a piece of property in Tennessee, and we
Mm.
actually worked out a seller finance deal.
Oh.
And so I learned a little bit about it. And so I had a base knowledge. And
Hmm.
then when I actually got to apply it, that's when I was like, dude, this is super cool. I think
Yeah.
market rates, this was 2023 or four, so market rates were like seven, 7.5, especially
Hmm.
on land. This was just a raw piece of land. So um, that's definitely a little higher of an interest rate. And we locked it up at like 4.5%, and it really worked for the seller. Buyer was loving it because they were saving so much every month.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of learned the power of it. And then just seeing what you were doing with sub two, I think those were the two things that I was like, wow, this is legit. And also I was like 19 or 20 years old. So I'm like, all right, I don't have any money. It's a cool way
Just
to
go
buy
for
some
it, dude.
properties. Yeah.
I love it. That's
Yeah. So
awesome.
those were probably the two moments that got me intrigued and
Okay.
got me to learn more. And of course, looked up Place Morby on YouTube and just started learning about it more and more there.
How long do you feel like it took you to like actually like feel like you knew what you were even doing with creative? Like how long do you think that even took?
That's a good question because I still don't even know if I know what I'm doing, but I feel like there's always something else to learn.
Yeah,
But to
definitely.
have a good enough base knowledge to talk to sellers about it, probably 3 months or so.
Okay. 3 months.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm assuming like along the way, you deal with the same, inner voice that most people have, which is like, you can't do this, or you're not going to be able to keep this up, or like, just go get a normal job or go back to a job or whatever it is. Like, during those times, like how do you feel like you actually like handled that? Like, and does that still show up for you, or like maybe talk about that?
It doesn't anymore, but it definitely did. I would
Mm.
say when I was a realtor, I was making a decent amount of money and I was living at home at the moment, which was a huge help. And then when I started doing sub two, it was like probably the same, if not a little bit more, just assigning contracts.
Yeah.
And at a certain point, like I literally wasn't making any money. And so I had to go get a job. I was like a server for a little bit as
Hmm.
well. And it's funny to say, but like being a server just made me want to grind even more because it sucked. Like, dude, I hated serving so bad. And me and my wife still laugh about it because she was such a good server and I was not. But I hated it so much that I'm like, dude, I just want to like work for myself. I want to be 1099. This
Yeah.
life is not cut out for me. So I think that motivation led to it.
Hmm.
And then also like seeing other people who had success, like you and a few other people in the sub two community or just people in Nashville who are fixing and flipping, seeing that it's
Yeah.
actually possible, just kind of it makes you feel like it's real and it could happen for you.
Yeah.
And just knowing that the work that's going to come is required, and once you put in that work, you're going to get what you want.
That's so good, dude. I feel like there's a lot of people probably even here that need to hear that. Like maybe you're working a job that you don't like, or maybe you don't mind the job, but maybe you like just want more for yourself. Like
For
maybe you
sure.
know you're capable of more. I think I was there. I had a basketball training business for a few years, and I worked with kids, and I even worked with some college guys and even some pros that came because they just wanted to learn how to shoot, and like I taught them how to shoot, and it was a good gig. I made six figures. Like I was not broke, but I also I knew I could do more than that. And I
Yeah.
think it kind of, I don't know. I was like, am I really going to do this for 10 years knowing I could do more? And maybe a lot of y'all are asking the same question. So I think that's something to pay attention to, and listen to that. Doesn't mean you go quit your job right away, right? But if you got
Yeah.
some reserves and you got a partner that makes good money or whatever it is, like then you figure it out. Maybe you do it from, I mean, I work in our business from usually 8 to 4, 8 to 5, and then I take a little break, and then from usually 8 to 12, I work on the other side of the business, which is like moving it forward. And so maybe for you, if you have a job, you work 3 or 4 hours at night to figure it out.
That's how it was for me. Like I
Yeah,
was working in the mornings as a server, sometimes in the afternoons, but I would just alternate to where I'm like calling right after the shift or right before the shift.
and you
Yeah,
did
so I
it.
was making money through serving, just to
Mhm.
have money in my pocket,
Yeah,
and then
yeah,
that was just to start the business up.
yeah. Well, and I
It
can
worked for me.
speak for sure. And I'm sure like one of the biggest hurdles that people have on this call is like they struggle with like the anxiety of like picking up the phone or calling. Like maybe it's cold calling or maybe it's just calling agents. And a lot of times I feel like it's because they feel like they don't know maybe exactly what to say or like where to lead the conversation. So like how do you feel like you're able to kind of push past that? Do you have any advice?
I think like my base knowledge really helped. Like if I were to just start,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like this in the beginning where, especially with sub two, like that's a whole nother level. But
Yeah.
um, at the beginning, I was like, I don't want to make any calls because I don't really know too much. So if I
Mm-hmm.
get any objections, I just don't know how to handle it. And so that's a whole nother anxiety right there. Just not feeling like you're prepared enough to explain a concept.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that kind of held me back for a while. Since I had my base knowledge from being a realtor, that helped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And then actually picking up the phone, just having like accountability around you. I had a
Mm-hmm.
partner at the time that we were kind of in it together and we were killing it. He was calling every day. I was calling every day.
Yeah.
And anytime I would have trouble, I can just pick up the phone and talk through something. Role
Mm-hmm.
play was huge for me, like being
Mm-hmm.
able to practice these objections and
Yeah.
talk through it and have a script.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think just at the end of the day, though, you just got to get in there and do it. Like those anxieties kind of go away once you have those conversations and you know
Yeah.
what you talk about or you know what those conversations are like. And then you can
Mm-hmm.
refine it by seeing what you didn't do so great or what you didn't love, and then
Mm-hmm.
refining it with your partner in practice and role play.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes I think that, and I'll speak for myself, I think like especially in the beginning stages, or even now, I have moments where it's not necessarily always calling a seller, but it could be a seller or a buyer. Maybe there's a really tense situation. where like I got to have a really hard conversation with someone or whatever it is.
Mhm.
That's not fun. I hate that, right? It's just not, that's not the last thing I want to do, to be honest. But I know like it's important for our business for us to make money and to do the right thing. And so sometimes what happens is I think that I'm so anxious about it, right? So maybe for you on this call, it's like you're anxious about cold calling or calling an agent. Why are we anxious about that? Okay, I'm anxious because I feel like I'm going to do something wrong and it's going to mess it up, right? And so what I'm doing is I'm placing all of the emphasis of what success is on how the call goes versus for me now, success is the fact that I was actually willing to go do it. It's like I was
Absolutely.
willing to go do
Yeah.
it. Even if the call goes bad, I'm like, dang, I'm proud of myself for even just getting on the phone and doing that. So I think you got to think about it that way. Like, what's the closest you can get to success instead of being like, I got to have it perfect. It's like, no, success is you got on the phone, you did the hard thing that you've been scared to do for 6 months.
Yeah,
That,
just doing the thing.
that's
Yeah.
it. That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. So I love that, dude. I think that's really good. Maybe talk about your experience working with like creative deals with agents specifically. Because we do sellers now, but
Dude, it
like,
was so
how was
tough.
that? Talk
It was
about
so annoying. That was, yeah, it sucked because agents are like, they have, I mean, it's their job to protect their client. And so when you throw something like if this woman's been in real estate for 20 years
it.
and then you're coming up and you're like, hey, here's a new idea, they're going to be just completely opposed to it. And they're going to ask every single question
Yeah.
and like make sure all the paperwork is right. So it was a pain. Like speaking directly to the sellers now that we're doing foreclosures is
Hmm.
so much easier because you can just level with them on like a personal basis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can ask more like personable questions and figure out what's really going on when the agent's trying to protect all of that information because they
Yeah.
don't want you to have leverage, which makes sense. It
Hmm.
completely makes sense. When I was an agent, I did the same thing.
Yeah.
Um, so it just adds another layer of difficulty that you have to get through.
Mm.
And it sucked. I didn't like it.
What are some tips on how to get through that? Like what's a mistake that you feel like investors make when they're maybe trying to build a relationship with an agent?
Oh man. I think like you have to show that you're serious a lot.
Mm.
Like a lot of agents don't want their time wasted, especially if they're getting a lot of these calls. Like you're just trying to beat around the bush and not really get to the point.
Hmm.
I think you have to be serious and a level of just being straight up. Like
Yeah.
you know what you're talking about, and this is why I'm here, and just like getting straight to the point instead of beating around the bush.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's huge. And just honestly, just knowing what you're talking about is huge to agents and building rapport with them, like being trustworthy with them, showing that you have done these deals and other people around you that you know or that on your team have done these deals, and just
Yeah.
showing that credibility.
Yeah.
That'll help them lower their barriers for sure.
I think that's really good advice for everyone
Yeah.
here. Sometimes I think for anyone kind of calling agents and you're pitching creative, I mean, the more I've done it, the more I've realized like building relationships with them outside of a listing or outside of a deal is definitely the most powerful way to get people to bring you a deal. I mean, obviously. Um, Now, even if you're calling someone about a listing that maybe you think is a good sub two deal, either way, most of the time, I think what Griffin said it really works, where it's like go be direct and like explain kind of how it works. But also sometimes I think if you can kind of pull back for a second and talk about it as a topic, as a thing, versus this has to fit into your listing that we're calling about right now. Um, I think sometimes you're going to get better results because then you talk about the topic and it's almost like they don't feel the need as much. There's still going to be agents that are super defensive. I hate sub two, blah, blah, blah. But they don't feel the need to like say, my client's not doing that because that's not what we're talking about. We're just talking
Mm,
about what do you think about this topic? What do you think about sub two in general? What scares you about it? That kind of stuff. Well, I'm not even talking about this deal, just in general. Like, what are some questions you have about it? And now you're like in a conversation. And I've done that several times to where I get to the point where at first they said my client's not doing it. And at the end of the call, they admit to me that they just said that because they didn't know what they were talking about.
yeah.
So it's something to kind of think about. It's like you want to kind of balance those two things. And I don't know what you think about that, but
Oh, that's huge.
Mhm.
I wasn't thinking that way at all when I was calling agents. Like I was trying to beat around the bush and try to figure like I remember I would start the conversation and just be like, yeah, like what repairs would need to be done and
Yeah.
just asking them anything but
Same,
like what
dude.
I'm
Same.
calling them about. And
Yeah.
then I would wait till the last minute and then they're like, "Oh, you're one of those guys," and hang up.
Oh, it's the
Yeah.
worst.
So just
The
getting
worst.
straight to it and asking them how they feel. I mean, if I would have known that when I was doing it, I think I would have had a bigger success rate for sure. So that's
I
huge
would have.
advice. Yeah.
I
Love
would
it.
have. It took me forever to
Yeah.
find that out. So yeah. Now, if someone's starting out, would you recommend that they go with agents or sellers first, and why?
Sellers.
Ah.
Just because like I said earlier, like straight to the point or more personable, you can just level on them with a better layer of trust instead of having that wall in between you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, I think like you should just start no matter what it is. Like I'm glad that I started with agents.
Yeah.
Like if you can jump in and start talking to sellers, I think that's great. But having conversations, I think is the number one thing. And you may learn, hey, this is not for me. Move on to the
Hmm.
next. So I'd personally recommend sellers, but I think anything is better than nothing.
I think that's good. And I think some to
Yeah.
add on to that, I think agents is easier as an entry point to just have conversations, but I think sellers is easier to pitch creative, which is
Mm,
kind of what you've said. It's like if you want
yeah.
to talk to more people, the first thing to do is just go call agents. Because there's a lot of agents that are super nice. Like you can call them and talk about the property, and you don't have to get into all the creative stuff. You can just practice just talking to an agent,
Yeah.
right? Getting over that hurdle. Versus with sellers, a lot of times you go do that, they're like, "Who are you? What do you want?" Like, you know what I mean? Like, if they don't know you, it's like they're like, "Why are you calling me?" And
Yeah.
agents kind of expecting calls, right? So, I think that's something kind of to think about. Maybe let's move to kind of the seller portion real quick, and then I'll kind of leave it open for Q&A after just maybe a couple more questions. Um, can you explain to me maybe what like a typical first conversation would look like with like a homeowner that's in pre-foreclosure? Because obviously we focus on that. Like, what do you actually
Yeah.
like say? Like, what are you actually talking about?
Well, I started the conversation just saying, hey, it's Griffin with LoveWell. Sorry for the call out of the blue.
Mhm.
Just noticed that it looked like your lender was putting a little bit of pressure on you and
Mhm.
just wondering if I can lend a hand. So just kind of keeping it open, and most of the time they're going to be like, "What do you mean lend a hand? Like, what can you do?" And so that's when I'll go into further detail and just say, "Hey, we help people understand what their options are to stop the foreclosure sale and
Mhm.
help them keep their house. Like, is that kind of your goal?" And so at
Mhm.
that point, they'll identify what the goal is. So more than likely, yeah, to keep the house.
Mhm.
If it's to sell, then great. We just skipped the whole thing and went straight to selling.
Mhm.
But if it's the goal to keep the house, then we talk through what their options are and see what they've already done and what they've thought about and what they think about certain things and just seeing if there is a good solution for them.
Mhm.
And, once we go through those options and there may be a good option, which is great. There may not be an option, and then we get to selling. But either way, that conversation just builds a lot of trust because
Mhm.
you're showing that you're here to help. And if you're just a person about it, you're just talking to them one on one.
Yeah.
Um, there's this type of level of trust that's built, and they'll tell you anything. Like they'll
Mhm.
get into their story about what happened and like what they're dealing with right now. And yeah, they really trust you at that point, and they feel like you're there for their best interest, which I think is the key to dealing with
Mhm.
these people.
And I think to answer, maybe to double down on that, I think the more important piece is like, are you there for their best interest?
Yeah,
And I think you are.
Yep.
yeah,
Otherwise,
absolutely.
none of us would be working with each other. And I
Yeah,
think that that's for everyone on this call too, if you're going to call anyone in distress, it's like there's a reason why they're in distress. And more importantly, when you're getting them to tell you to open up about their problems, who are they also telling? Themselves, right? Which a lot of times we as humans, what do we not like to do? We don't like to look our problems in the face, right? It's not comfortable. And so
yeah.
I think it's our job to like help them do that in a way that feels doable to keep it short. So I love that, dude. That's really good. And so but why not just like there's a lot of investors that will call these people and say, "Hey, you got a week left. I know you got to sell it. I'll make you a cash offer right now." Like why not that? Why not go that route?
Well, because they're getting a million of those phone calls, and like these people at the end of the day, they may have lived there for 10, 20 years and they have an emotional attachment to the house. They don't want to just lose it. They don't want to give up and immediately just jump straight to selling. Like most of the time they want to sell or keep the property. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can talk about keeping the property, then when that selling conversation comes around, it makes it a whole lot easier. And I talked to a dude the other day that we're actually under contract with right now.
Mm-hmm.
And like one of the first things he said is like, yeah, I have all these people calling me like trying to buy the house, and that's not what I want to do. And I was like, okay, so it's your goal to keep the house. And then we got into that conversation, built trust, and proposed a solution for him. And it was a good solution. So now we're under contract. And out of all those people that called him trying to buy the house, I was the winner just
Yeah.
because I built that trust. And now we're under contract.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
super awesome, dude. Yeah, that's killer. Um, so what about the homeowner that just says, I don't want to sell? It's like how do you navigate that homeowner? Like what do you do? Like how do you get them to even be open to the idea of selling?
I think just realizing the truth of what their options actually are. Like if they don't have any options and it's like sell or lose the house to foreclosure,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, which one sounds better to you? And talking about what that outcome may look like if they were to lose the house. I think
Mm-hmm.
that knocks a lot of sense into people
Talk more about
real
that.
quick. I mean, if you're saying, yeah, if you lose your house tomorrow, like what's going to happen then? Because they may just be like putting that in the back of their mind, not thinking about it. But if they
Mm-hmm.
face that reality of like, what would you do? And then it's like, I actually don't know what I'll do. Like you're going
Mm.
to lose the house, be kicked out. You're not going to have time to move or to find that next rental. I mean, in your eyes, is that better than selling the property and getting some cash for it?
Yeah.
Getting some time to be able to find your next place. Which one
Mm-hmm.
sounds better to you? I think just showing both sides and both outcomes and the
Mm-hmm.
pros of each, pros and cons of each,
That's
and
right.
just kind of weighing them and like straight in front of them, and they'll get to
Dude.
see it.
That, if anyone, I'm telling you right now, if you're on this call and you want to get deals, what he just said is like the ultimate gem of everything that I think he said so far. Because underneath that is hidden kind of what we just said earlier, where people don't want to look their problems in the face. And what are people doing in foreclosure or any kind of state where they're maybe a little bit more delusional? Like what causes someone to be delusional? It's like there's one side of it where they're not seeing the real negative consequences. And the other side, they're only seeing the potential positives. And they're like
Hmm.
making it so much bigger than what's actually realistic. And so they're so far away, right? And so for like someone to go from this to this, I almost think about it like in between my two hands, like right here. I see there being like a black curtain. So it's just a curtain, right? And behind that black curtain is selling the property. So they're behind the curtain. You have to get them to move the curtain and see it. Perfect. Step one. Now, is that enough to get them here? No. There's another black curtain. What's behind the second one? What actually happens if you lose your house? Boom. How many people do not want to actually look at that? They want to look at it as a concept. They want to think about, oh, losing my house. But they don't want to think about what actually happens if they lose their house. Why not? Because that's scary as crap. That's really scary. Right? So how do you do that? Like Griffin, like how do you talk to that? Like how do you get someone to see that? Like is it your tone? Is it what you say? Is it magic words? Like what is it?
Definitely not magic words, for sure not. I think just like
Mhm.
asking them questions of like, what would you do then, and
Yeah.
not letting them get away with it.
Can you talk
Like
more
I
about
think
that?
something, yeah, something we've been working on a lot recently is tone and we talked about it this morning, I think, or yesterday.
Hmm. Yeah. Mhm.
But tone and like, okay, well, like if you were to lose the house, what would you do then? Versus like, okay, but if you were to lose the house tomorrow, I mean, like, what would you do then?
What's the
So just like
difference in those two?
slowing it down, the
Yeah.
tone, and like really making them think about it. Because
Hmm.
it was a call recording that we looked at, and I said that I was like, "What would you do then?" And then she was like, "Oh, I don't know. I'd probably just cry," and just like laughed about it.
Hmm.
And I kind of let her off,
Hmm.
but that doesn't get her to see the reality of what's actually going to happen. Because it was a
Right.
joke. It's like, oh, okay, whatever.
Right.
But if you slow it down and you get real about it, then
Mm-hmm.
that's when they're forced to see what's going to happen.
Dude, so good. Surface level tonality gets you surface level answers.
For sure.
So it's like if you're on this call and you're listening to this, take that into your heart and just leave it there. Because it's like you will not get the answers you're looking for unless you ask it in a way that has them actually internalize or think about what you're asking them clearly. So if Griffin does that, or let's say it's me, I ask a question and I say, Alex, I mean, if you lose your house, what are you gonna do then, man? And he's like, I don't know. No, but so okay, so what would I do then? Do I let him off the hook? Or I said, no, but like seriously, like if you really like thought about it, like what would actually happen if you lose your house and you'll have no place to go? And now I start outlining it, like what would happen then, dude? Like really what?
Hmm.
So I'm not letting him off the hook. Like get back on it because you need to answer that question to move the ball forward. That's the only way. Cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of the whole conversation. Like tonality is huge on the whole conversation.
Hmm.
Especially like going back to trust. That's something that I've learned. Just like slowing it down, not sounding like a salesman,
Yeah,
which I did at the beginning. Like when I'm calling agents, I sounded like a salesman.
me too.
And so just slowing it down and just being a human about it and just having a conversation.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
think that's huge. Yeah.
And you're always, and we're always going to sound like a salesman if we're like attached to the sale. And
Yeah.
I think being detached from the sale is not necessarily that you don't want to make money. It's that you are detached from the idea that you actually have that much power to make someone go from like a full no to a full yes. It's like that's not your job. What is your job? Can anyone tell me?
To get him to
To
think
go
about
through,
it.
yeah, to
If you,
think about it and like go through this path, take them down the path of discovery.
that helped
Yeah.
me so much the other day when Griffin on our call said that, what you're saying right now, Evan, that was on my
Mhm.
mind. You can't force anybody to make a decision like you were telling me, Griffin. And it's so true. It takes that pressure off of you.
No. Yeah, you don't get someone to go from a
Absolutely.
no to a yes, it's from a maybe to a yes. You're working on the maybes. Those are the
Yeah.
people you have to help. Okay.
Yep.
Like these people, like everyone on here right now, there's some people that have never made a call to a seller, but there's a reason why you're here tonight, right? It's because maybe you're on the fence. So right now, what are you? You're kind of maybe a maybe, right? So what's our job? To like try to help you walk through that. You see what I'm saying? Versus the people that are not on this call, maybe not very committed to it. They might be
Mm.
a no. You see what I'm saying? It's the same thing. It really is. Um, can you tell me like maybe last thing? What would you tell? What would you tell the version of yourself from 3 years ago? Like right now, you're like, hey, you're gonna get into real estate. This is how it's gonna be. Like, what would you tell yourself?
It's a good question, man. I don't know. Probably just connect with the right people. I think, honestly, just to give you credit, I mean, probably one
Nah.
of the biggest sparks of like success to me in being in real estate. Like I had the drive to do it. Like I was willing to call, but I didn't have the know-how. I didn't have the scripts or like what to say. I didn't really have the true knowledge. And just connecting with you and having a mentor that leads me in the right direction and pushes me, like I said earlier, accountability is huge. I think
Yeah,
that's probably the biggest thing that happened to me in my career. So I would just say to connect with the right person and just keep moving forward.
I
Like
love it,
get
dude.
started because I started as a realtor and didn't end up doing that. Then I was calling agents, didn't end up doing that, but just getting started was the biggest thing for me and just
Yeah,
moving forward and figuring out what I'm going to do eventually.
dude. And you're young, bro. It's crazy. Awesome. Well, dude, I'm gonna leave it open here for Q&A. If you're on the call, I would actually love if you engage and ask some questions because otherwise we're gonna sit here for 30 minutes and Griffin and I are just gonna look at each other, I think. It'd be kind of weird. Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, so for Griffin, kind of piggybacking off of Evan's question, what would you say is like the biggest thing that you wish you would have avoided? Like looking back over your time in real estate, like what was like maybe the biggest detour or like waste of time?
That's a good question, man. That's a really good question, actually. Um, I think there's nuance to the question because I could say it's a waste of time, but there's always something that I learned out of each thing that I did, even if it's bad. Like you connect with the wrong person, and which I'm not saying I did. I had a phenomenal partner, but it just probably wasn't the most ethical way that we moved. Like we would say that we're buying the deal when I'm calling agents about sub two, and we weren't. Like we were assigning it, and that could definitely bite you in the butt. So like I learned a lesson from that. So no matter what I did, I was just figuring it out, and I always had something to take away from it. So I can't really say anything's a waste, but I guess just to feel like I actually gave an answer. Um, Probably calling on market deals and agents. It just wasn't for me. So for me, that's what I feel like was probably the biggest waste of time. That's a
Thank
good question. That
oh,
was a
thank
really good
you.
question, dude.
It was really good. Who else has got some questions? Could be
How
about
do,
anything.
how do you handle it, Griffin? Because I know you might go through a dry spell where there's not any deals happening. It's been 4 or 5 weeks. And what do you do to keep that mindset that it's going to happen, even though you don't see evidence right now?
Yeah, it's tough. Um, I think just knowing that it's a numbers game, like we all know this, but then when you get that feeling of not having a deal, like you get demotivated and you get down on yourself. I think as long as you stick to the fact that you know it's a numbers game and you just have to put in the work, like I just have to remind myself that anytime I'm feeling that way, I got to shut it down and just
Mm,
remind myself to keep making calls because that's the only way that it's going to get better. That's the only way that you're going to get deals is by actually making the phone calls.
it's good.
But it's tough. Like not to say that I don't have my bad moments. Like I definitely am, sad sometimes when I don't have a deal and feeling down. Like, oh no, is this going to work? Is this not going to work? Like everyone kind of has those moments.
Yes.
Um, and you may have a day like that, but I think just reminding yourself of that is what's got me to keep going.
Very good. Yep.
I love that. That's a great question. I have that moment like every night, so I'm glad you have it like not as much as I do.
Yeah.
I don't believe it.
And just talking through
You'd
it.
be
I think like
surprised.
talking to Evan or the
Yeah.
team and just saying, "Hey, I'm having a hard time." Like, y'all know, I'll be honest. I'm like, yeah, kind of sucks right now. Just being honest about it and talking about what you could do to get better.
Hmm.
Yeah. 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 If you're getting started, man, you got to surround yourself around people that are doing it too. And maybe that doesn't mean you're working on a team. Maybe that means you just have someone you go to coffee with once a week and talk about it.
Yeah.
Something, like Alex and I go to coffee, we talk about it. And it's like Alex is a really good friend. And it's like, I'm excited for him to grow in his real estate business and it's gonna be awesome. But like, yeah, dude,
I
get those gains, dude. Come on. Yeah, so I love that. What other questions we got?
I have a couple of questions, John. I want to see if, like Griffin, if you wanted to start today, how do you start in the current market in Nashville? And my second question is like, what action has brought you the most results?
well, on our team, I only do cold calls. Um, so that's brought me the most results, just cold calling. And I think I would stick to a list that has some type of motivation, which is why we're in foreclosures. And I would really niche down on the properties that I want, like that have the most equity, and just focusing on calling those people, calling the relatives, calling the neighbors. And I don't live in Nashville right now. I actually live in Seattle, but we plan on moving back in a few years. And when I touch back down in Nashville, like I plan on door knocking, and I wish that I could right now. And I think that's super scary, even thinking about it right now. I'm like, dude, I don't want to door knock, but that would probably lead to the most opportunity. So if I was in Nashville right now, that's all I'd be doing. I'd stick to like a very specific list, niche down to like 5 to 10 leads, and just go for those. Door knock, call every day.
Can you tell me a little more about like how you do door knocking? Like,
Dude, I've
what do you
never done
think?
it. I don't know. I don't know. I still
It's like,
haven't
do you
figured
just
that
like
part
knock
out.
on any, is it any doors, or is it like you target properties to do that?
Well, like if I were to door knock right now, like we have a list of people that have an active foreclosure sale coming up. So I would go knock on those properties. Like I would slim it down to 5 to 10 leads that I really want, those homes that have a lot of equity. And I would door knock those properties, leave a note, maybe do it a few times. If they don't answer, I'd probably door knock the neighbors. I don't know. I guess I haven't thought that far through it yet, but I think that's what I do.
Now it's your chance to think about it before you move back to Nashville. Guess.
That's right. You're just helping me brainstorm. Yeah, I appreciate the question.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you, man.
That's awesome. Alex, what's up?
Yeah, first of all, be very selective which neighborhoods you door knock.
Yeah, don't door knock Antioch. I'll tell you that. Don't door knock
Um,
Antioch.
do you do like conversations with neighbors, relatives at this point in your career?
Yeah, we do. We actually just started doing it recently.
Okay, can you like kind of walk me through how those conversations typically go?
Yeah. So if the easiest ones to do are like the homeowner is passed and it's in foreclosure. So then you reach out to the kids and the spouse, and really any relative of them is a good person to hit. Um, but those conversations is typically like, hey, I saw his property was coming up, kind of act a little dumb and just be like, hey, just wanted to make sure he knew all of his options. And they're like, oh, he passed. And I'm like, oh man, I'm sorry to hear that. Sympathize with him. And um, then just kind of get into like, what do you plan on doing? Those are the easiest ones to knock out because most of the time, like we're talking to a dude right now who lives a few states away from this property. And he's like, dude, I have my own mortgage, don't want to deal with it. So like I'd be happy to sell if I could. And those are the best ones. Like that's an instant deal right there. Um, if the homeowner's still alive, that's where it's a little tricky because they're like, dude, why are you reaching out to me? Like, call him. And then it may get back to the homeowner and they're like, why are you calling my kids and my family? So it can get a little tough, but I definitely still think it's worth it. And those conversations essentially just look like same thing. Hey, just wanted to make sure you knew all his options. And they may be receptive to it and be like, okay, what options? And you get into the conversation, or they may be willing to connect you to. And that's kind of the best outcome is when they can connect you and there's like a warm introduction there. Um, or they may be super closed off and they're like, boop, hang up. And, what are you going to do about it? So, yeah, just trying to get a contact through them is kind of the goal. But we've definitely found success with it. I think it's worth it for sure.
Right on, thanks.
That's really
Yeah,
cool.
thanks, man.
I like how you went into detail on that too. I feel like that really helps
I got
people
a
understand
question,
the
man.
content.
Hey guys.
What's up?
Hey,
Hey, what's up, man?
Dude, looking
um,
fresh, bro. Let's go. Where are you at? Miami? Hold up.
nah, these are my eyeglasses, man. What do you guys do about follow-ups? So, like, obviously, you probably reach out to people, they probably shoot you down, right? I'm assuming there's some follow-up for some of these deals that you finally get to the finish line. So, could you talk to us about like what that looked like?
Yeah, are you saying like we connected with them already and then follow up?
Well, just say, let's say you pull a list, right? They're pre-foreclosure. You talk to them, and and you kind of get an idea. Maybe they're not ready to sell, or maybe they're in denial, right? Or maybe they don't know what they want to do just yet. Like, what do you do with those type of leads? I guess my question is, do you wait maybe a week or two? Obviously, you guys can see the auction date, so there's a time where they
Yeah,
have to make a decision, obviously, or they're gonna lose their place. Um, but like, what are your touch points, I guess? Or how often are you doing that?
I guess it's not really super systematic. We kind of do it in a way where the best outcome is you set a range or a date to follow up with them based on whatever they're working on. So if they're saying like, hey, I'm trying to do a loan modification and they said that they're going to call me back on Tuesday, then I'm going to call them Tuesday. So if you get like an idea of the timeline on what they're working on, you always want to set that follow-up date with them on the phone right there.
Gotcha. Okay. And then I'm assuming like there's probably you guys have probably had sellers where they're like, I'm not interested in selling, and then it gets close. Do you guys like as it gets close to that auction date, call them again, and just kind of
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah, for the people you haven't contacted or for the people that say they don't want to sell.
Right. I'm kind of
Like,
focused on that. The people that's like, don't call me again. I don't want to sell. They're in denial. You're right.
yeah, unfortunately, that's where like probably, what would you say, 90, 80% of where our deals come from. And so it comes down to the wire, but a lot of people will say, "Hey, I have it taken care of. Don't call back." And then you'll look on auction.com 2 days before the auction and see that it's still active. And so I always call those people. Like 2 days before, always call them. 10 days before, always call them. Because they may say they have it taken care of, but most of the time
Yeah,
it's not. And it's
yeah,
always worth a double check, right?
that's true.
Like even
Yeah,
if it is taken care of, hey, is it taken care of? Yeah, all right, bye. But we've
right.
had deals where it's like they've told us it's taken care of, and we're like, hey, what's going on? And they're like, oh yeah, I need to sell.
Gotcha. And then second question is, and maybe you guys have talked about this, is where do you pull your list from? Do you have recommendations for that as far as pre
Oh,
foreclosures?
yeah, we use niche data.
Okay.
However, like now I'm actually starting to learn about this a little more. Like if I were to just get started, dude, I'd probably use AI. Like now with tools like Claude, you can get like integrations where there's essentially things called skills that you can do with Claude, and it's just like an order of operations on, completing a task. And so you can set specific parameters to go to the county website and pull all of the new lists every single day automatically, and it'll already be there for you. So there is a county website that it gets released on every single day for new pre-foreclosures. But
Okay.
to automate it, I would use AI and then skip trace it with, there's a ton of tools out there.
Yeah, some situations. But ideally, typically you're just going on the county website or wherever you're looking at,
Yeah. So
or
we get it
using,
from like a company that just
okay.
sends it to us.
Yeah, years and
Um,
years ago, when I used to try to do this wholesale, like Listability was a popular website where you would get, you know, leads from. I don't know about pre-foreclosures back then because I wasn't focused on that, but I was just curious. Okay.
yeah. Part of the foreclosure process is they have to release that notice online. So you just
Mm,
find the website
that
and
makes
look it
sense.
up and it shows you every single one.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, man. Thanks for
Yeah,
sharing
for sure.
everything.
Yeah. Thanks for the questions.
Really good question. I think what he said too about like focusing on like the last 10 days is really important. It's been good for our team. I mean, I think you have to remember that if they're at this point where they're in foreclosure, they've been in denial for so long that honestly, like the foreclosure notice that they get when they're 30, 45 days out or whatever it is not going to mean much more than what they've already been hit with. So I think like you're much better trying to focus kind of on the back end than you are on the front. I'm not saying there's not some people that get that shock factor and it works for them. Like we've had those, but it's very far and few between. Like if they've tried to
Yeah.
figure it out for 6 months, they're going to try for another month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a
Noel,
good
what's
point.
up?
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah.
what's up, man?
What's up, man?
Yeah, sorry, I just jumped on late. What's you guys' approach to mobile homes in parks? I had a lead that reached out, wanted to sell, but they're asking way too much, right? And they were open to, I guess, discussing terms. And they sent me just basic info and pictures and stuff like that. Maybe looking to do something there, I guess, with the in the creative finance space with mobile homes. But I just wanted to know what your guys' approach is to mobile homes and parks.
You want to answer that, Evan?
I was waiting until you had the answer. First off, nice to meet you, man. Thanks for coming. So what's the goal? Is the goal for you to keep it or to assign it?
Assign it, I think.
Okay. Do you know anybody that buys mobile home parks?
I have a broker friend of mine who I think connected a buyer with a couple mobile homes in that market.
Okay.
Yeah,
I would,
I could
I would,
find somebody. I guess is what I'm saying. I can find somebody.
okay, 'cause I was gonna say my first step would be reaching out to like him and maybe like one or two more and just asking like, hey, for a deal like this at this price point roughly, how much do you want to be into the deal for? Like that's kind of like the most important thing that you need to figure out first. Is like how much money cash up front can you bring to the table in order to do this? Assuming the terms are great, assuming we have a low interest rate, whatever it is, right? Have them give you at least a range. How much are they asking for the property?
250K. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So $250,000. Okay. So with that, I mean, then I think the next thing you need to ask is like, do they have records of like what the income is, like how much income it produces every year?
I'll ask that, I guess, next time I speak to him.
Yeah, that would be a good next question because your terms that you create with him are going to be based off of that, right?
Right.
Most likely. Does he have a mortgage?
No, he owns it free and clear.
Okay, perfect. So what I would do is I would go to this homeowner and I would just say, okay, with you wanting 250, number one, I'd ask him if that's the least he would take. Number one, it's like, hey, we are buying it as is. We can close quickly. Like, is that the least you would take? Maybe he comes down to 240. Maybe he comes down to 230. Whatever. At least it's worth the question before you start getting into terms. That would be my first
Right.
piece of advice. Let's say he gets you to, 235. I'll do 235. That's it. Okay. Then you ask him if I can get you some of that $235,000 now at closing, maybe in the form of a down payment, and some of it over time. Would something like that work for you? It sounds like he's already said yes. So then you say, okay, cool. How much do you need now? That's the first question. He says, I need 100K. So like 50%? That's crazy, man. Like trying to kill me? You know what I mean? Like whatever, be funny about it. But then it's like, look, realistically, and now you know because you went to your buyer earlier about where they need to be. So if they need to be at 40K, then it's like, hey, dude, like I can't see myself doing much better than like 20K down. Like, is that
Right.
something you would say no to? And if he says, yeah, I'd say no to that, it's like, well, how close to the 20 can you be then? Maybe he says 30. Maybe you just made a 10K fee for yourself. You know what I mean? And then now you got to structure the rest of it. Do you have questions on that part or like, does that kind of make sense?
No, that makes total sense, I guess.
Cool.
I've built up a good relationship with park managers, and they're always sending me like handyman specials or somebody who's I guess behind on like back taxes and stuff, and just wanting
Cool.
to acquire, I guess, on creative terms and wanting to exit, I guess, on creative terms. That's like a long-term goal of mine, whether it's like on a wrap or a lease option.
Nice.
So just
That's
wanting to
great.
really build that out.
Have you, would it be like your first deal or like where are you at currently in your journey?
Yeah, yeah. First deal, have some
Okay.
experience in the transactional lending space,
Okay.
primarily, while also working the W-2.
Cool,
But yeah,
dude.
looking to grow, I guess, in this area. Because
Love it.
Southern California is really killing us, so you gotta get in however you can.
I've heard, man. Yeah. Well, let's connect, man. Reach out on the school community if you haven't already. I'll have to check my DMs. Maybe you already messaged me, but let's connect or whatever. Maybe we can talk about it.
Definitely. Thank you.
Dude, thanks for the questions. What else? Anything else? Cody, I thought you were gonna ask something, and then Alex, like the crazy person he is, just hopped right in front of you.
Sorry.
So he's prone to do that.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
Um, can you hear me? All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was stuck on the phone, but you talking about when I messaged you earlier?
It could be that, or if you had any, it looked like you had a question for Griffin, but if not, then we could talk about
Yeah, I
that.
did. I was asking him about skip trace, getting clogged to skip trace. What what do y'all use for data? Do y'all use like deal sauce or something or
No, we use niche data.
niche data? I ain't never heard
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah. So it's a
Um,
company that just kind of pulls everything from the county website and then just puts it in
gotcha.
Salesforce for you.
I used PropStream, just tried it out like
Like what
four
type
or
of data
five.
are you talking about? Talking about like
Uh,
foreclosure data?
well, just I guess like PropStream. I don't know. I figure PropStream does all that. The niche data, is it just do only foreclosure type stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not very familiar with foreclosure.
Oh, I got you.
Um,
Were you just
yeah.
asking about like in general? Like what type of data were you asking about?
Yeah, just in general. I didn't know if there was like a one for all or what.
I think PropStream is really good. I also use like for mortgage data to kind of see what they owe. And when I
Okay.
was calling on market properties, I would use RealTracks.
Okay.
So you have to be an agent or you have to know someone who is an agent to use RealTracks, but that
Okay.
has like really good data on like mortgage information when they bought it, when they took the mortgage out. So that can help you determine how much equity they have, if it's a good sub two deal based on when they bought it and when the mortgage was taken out. Um, yeah, if you could get a hold of RealTracks, that's a really good one for accurate mortgage data.
Gotcha. Yeah, so earlier I talked to an agent. She's got one listed in Memphis. It's a 5.3. It's perfect for what we're looking for recovery housing. And but it's like an older couple and they're wanting to downsize to like their retirement home, and of course they're wanting to, sell and take that money and buy their home. They don't want to take out another mortgage for the home, or um, take on um, the liability of somebody not paying them on a carry. So anyway, um, I I guess well, I know I did. I told her like the night before, yeah, this is a really good fit. I like it. And then like today, I told her I'll talk to you about it later. And what I did was let her on to believe that, um, I guess I was gonna be a cash buyer or something. And I said I just sent her like a long message apologizing because I feel like shit. And told her, I never meant to do that.
Oh, I
Um,
got you.
yeah, I was just busy, and I was just like, hey, can I talk to you later about it? And but and I actually, when I heard you was like, if you just tell them up front, that's what they like. And I'm like, man, I led that woman on, and I didn't even realize it. I did.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I think just like saying that you're an investor and then mixing
yeah.
with like just getting straight to the point with what Evan said of like backing up and not talking about this deal specifically, but just like what do you think about creative? I think that's super helpful. And that probably wouldn't have like made her think that you were a cash buyer.
Yeah, and that's what I told her. I said, that was never my intention. I should have told you that up front. So,
Hey, you live, you
but
learn. That's how you
yeah, I
learn right
mean,
there.
it may or may not have saved that relationship, but I feel better about telling her that anyway. So,
Nice, man. Yeah, I think it's worth
yeah,
just giving her a call back and being like, "Hey, sorry, I'm an investor," like, and then
right.
get into specifics on that property and then say, "Hey, in general, this is what we do. We do a lot of creative
Hmm.
and like, do you have any other properties this may be good for?" Or yeah, just build that relationship.
Yeah, I did have two good calls with a couple agents yesterday, though. And they was like really interested in the whole recovery housing thing, and I think because of that they was acceptable to creative financing. So maybe I'll be hearing back from them. I'll definitely be calling them back.
Hmm.
Nice, man. Are you just calling on market right now?
Yeah.
Cool. That's awesome, man.
Hmm.
Yeah, let us know how that goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very cool, dude. Um, I would give, you didn't ask for this. Could I give you some advice? Two
Yeah,
things.
always.
Okay, cool. I know you're open to it, so that's why I'm asking. Um, First would be the moment that you feel like you have a little bit of funds to be able to put towards marketing or like towards a list, like what you said you're already kind of doing, which is awesome. It's a great first step. You want to think about, and this is a huge mistake I made. Oh my gosh, I wasted probably a year of real estate just making this mistake. So that's what I'm telling you, is you need to find someone, a group of people with a similar problem. So for us, like we do foreclosures, for you, it could be probate. For you, it could be bankruptcy, it could be divorce, it could be inheritance, it could be tired landlords. I just gave you like five right there.
Yeah.
So it could be any of those, okay? The reason for this is not only the fact that they have motivation, but also the fact that you're going to get really good at that specific conversation about that problem. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
Like you could become the probate guy. You understand
Hmm.
everything about probate and you're going to be the expert, which means they're going to be more likely to work with you. Versus if you try to focus on 10 different lists, you're not going to be the expert at any of them. So that's the first thing. Second thing, it's really important for you to understand who you're like if you're a fan of like Pace Morby or creative and you talk about that, he talks a lot about avatars, right? Like what is your avatar? Like what kind of character you are? Same thing. Like a lot of these leads have similar avatars. And so I think about like for me, if I was trying to sell a creative finance course, for example, which I don't, but if I did, I wanted to sell a creative finance course, would it make more sense for me to send marketing out to every single investor in Tennessee? Or would it make more sense for me to send marketing out to investors in Tennessee that have made cash offers for 5 years and are now struggling? Which one? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Same thing, same idea.
yeah,
And that's because I understand that avatar and I understand the problem they're dealing with. So, my second point comes to this. When you talked about sharing your heart for like, I think you said recovering homes. Is that what you said?
yeah.
Recovering homes? I think that's awesome, dude. I think that's really
Mm,
cool. And I think there's a place to share that. I also think that if you want agents and sellers to work with you, one mistake I really made was talking about the how the amazing things that I'm going to do and how good it's going to be
yeah,
instead of telling them how it's going to solve their client's problem. And
right.
so I think keep that in mind. You think about when you call this agent, okay, what is the seller's problem? If I don't understand it, that's my job. I need to try to figure it out. And maybe there's not one. And that's okay too. If there's not one, no worries. So I think learning how to ask some questions on how can I even figure out if there is a problem? Like, have you thought about that? Like, what's a question maybe you think you could ask to see if the seller has a problem that you could fix?
I I did on this one. I was like, they're old. They won't. The house is too much for them. It was a 5-3. They want
Mm,
to move to a smaller house, retirement home, is what she said.
there you go.
So their problem is getting rid of this big house they have now, so that
Hmm.
they have the money to buy a smaller house. Um, I
Mm,
don't know how to solve that problem.
okay.
Other than give them the money they want, which I don't have, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, or um, tell them to get it out of their savings account, and
Mm.
I'll give them some more money to go with it. Um, that's my problem is being creative. I'm trying to pitch creative, but I'm not very creative.
That's okay. That's okay. So we're at a really good point here, and we can end it here after this if we want. But um, I do want to try to help you move closer towards your goals this week. Okay. So, and
Yeah,
I think you're doing a great job, by the way. Um, way further along than I was when I started. Um, think about when they start saying those things. You did a great first step of getting her to open up. That's huge. That's so hard to do. So you got her to open up about downsizing. I can't remember the stuff you said. Anyways, it doesn't matter. That's XYZ. Okay, so
yeah,
XYZ is the problem. So now, your next step in that conversation is to figure out, is there any reason why they wouldn't just be willing to let it sit on the market for another maybe 2, 3, 4 months so that they can get the price they want? Is there any reason that they wouldn't do that? If the agent says no, they're cool just waiting it out, then you don't have a deal. Easy answer.
right.
If the agent says, well, they really need to get there really quickly. And like, why is that? Just so I understand.
Mm,
Because XYZ. Got it. Okay. So if we could get this closed out in 2 weeks or 30 days, then that would be helpful. Yes. You see how you built a little bit of value there
yeah,
by asking that? So that's how you start to solve problems. Because how can we solve problems as investors? Can we solve the problem of paying the most? Uh, if you offer creative terms, maybe, but that's not really what you should lead with. That's more like they don't have any other options kind of thing.
right.
That's not usually I can pay the highest price, so you should work with me. It's like that's not usually how that works. So what are the other how else can we solve problems as investors
Um,
if we can't pay the highest price? What else do we provide?
uh,
This is a hard question. This is why I'm
yeah,
asking. Because if you don't
Yeah.
understand this, you're gonna have a really hard time talking to people.
Can I,
Yeah, for
can
sure.
I make a guess?
Yes,
Yeah.
please, please.
Okay, hear me out, right? So let's say I can't pay the highest price, right? But I come up with creative terms because some people need the money and then some people need the money for something, you
Hmm.
know. So like if I can come up with some type of creative term that will like you said, like getting to understanding what they actually need and then being able to, you know, like for instance, you was talking about the lady with the car.
Hmm.
And she just wanted the money for the car, so you said, hey, let's, like, you may not have been paying the highest price, but you were attentive to that need.
Yes, really good. Yes. So like what he said, maybe I'll take that as almost like um giving them what they need according to like what they told you. So like specifically, also really what goes along with that is the speed that you can get them the money. Does that make sense? How liquid, how much more liquid their house is when they sell to you versus go on the market. That's the
So
biggest problem with real estate is that it's not very liquid.
so I have a question. So you're telling me people will take less money for convenience?
Yes,
Yes.
very much so. Very much so.
Mm.
Kevin, have you ever sold anything on Facebook Marketplace?
Um, some truck tires,
Some trunk tires. How long did it take you to sell the trunk tires?
probably about a month or two.
Okay. How did you like that or was that kind of annoying?
Um, well, I didn't need the money, so I didn't really think about it at first. But I guess it was kind of like if somebody would have came to me a little bit faster and was like, "Look," because I was only selling them for like maybe $200. Like, they were just used truck tires. So you
Mm-hmm.
know, somebody eventually came and offered me like what was it, like 125, and I took it.
You just did it. You literally just did what we're talking about. There you go. Exhibit A, you know? We've all done it. I do it all the time.
Yeah, because I told her, like, probably the best we could do is at 365. And I said, I don't want to be offensive or nothing, but I am an investor. I can't give you 365. This was after she kind of shut down the,
Yeah.
no, they're not going to go for that. They need the money. I said, we could probably do around 250. She's like, no, they already turned down the offer at 285. I said, okay. I said, I understand.
Hmm.
Um, so,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
and
Okay.
then I told her, I was like, well, what if we was able to um get them something close to half of what they're looking for, and they carried the rest of it. Just, and I don't even know if that would work. So
Hmm. If you don't know how it does, then it probably won't.
yeah,
That's what I'm learning about the offers that I've been making recently. If I don't know how it solves a problem, it probably doesn't.
right.
Um, that's not just a you problem, that's a me problem. That's all.
Yeah, I need to know how to
Um,
solve the problem.
Totally, dude. And I love how honest you are, dude, about like the struggle. This is why you're gonna be successful. I'm telling you right now. Because you're willing to like take it and like I know this week you'll take it and like actually practice it. Which is huge. Like that's you just every single week take a next step and just get better. That's it. Don't ignore all the bull crap, ignore the social media, ignore the Lambos, like screw that. Like just get
Yeah,
better this week. That's all you got to focus on.
yeah.
And also like so we bring speed. What else do we bring?
Can I answer that?
Yes, please.
So one of the other things that sellers or mainly sellers that would look at is that they would take a less offer if they know that they're gonna certainly get paid. For
Yes.
example, if you can waive your inspection contingency and just go hard with your EMD, they're gonna take less money. That's for sure.
Hmm. Okay, so speed, certainty is what Amir just said.
Mhm.
Certainty of the deal. Some people would say they call that like the finality of the deal, like it's
Mhm.
done, right?
Mhm.
Also the convenience of the deal. And what comes into what how can we make a deal more convenient for somebody? How can we do that?
Post occupancy, something like that.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
What
speed
else?
of closing.
Uh-huh.
Be
Okay.
closing, handle all the
So
closings. I mean,
flexible closing date, maybe.
yeah,
Okay. What else? There's a big one.
inspection period,
As
How can we
is.
make it more
handle
convenient as is? That's right. Yeah.
As is.
handle the
Post
closing,
occupancy, flexible closing, as is. You start to see how many things we are providing that maybe we
handle
weren't
the
thinking
closing
about.
cost.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Cover the closing cost so we can cover costs for them. That's good. What else?
Can you explain the strength of as is? Like
Yes. Yeah.
like is there a lot of people who are making some sort of uh or they need some accommodation or something before closing?
Yeah, so this is more just like properties in general, and buying a property as is just means like you're buying it and you're not asking them to do any kind of repairs, right? And so there's a lot of people that maybe they've let their house kind of let it go, and maybe the house needs 50, 60, $70,000 in repairs, and in order for them to get top dollar for the property, they're probably going to have to do those repairs before they can sell the house because it won't pass an inspection, most likely. And so if they go to a real estate agent, they're gonna have to sell it for super low and they gotta pay commissions and they gotta deal with people walking through there and all this kind of stuff. So you buying it as is solving a real problem because they don't have the money to fix it up. Does that make sense, Kevin, at all?
Yeah, 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 that makes
Cool.
sense.
Great question. What else did I mention in there that also is a part of convenience? Is listing with a realtor convenient?
Nope.
Yeah. What else is not convenient? Showings, if they're living
Showing,
there,
yeah. Yep. Yep.
right? And what else under certainty is kind of a what scares people?
Inspector.
Yeah, inspector, because they don't know what's going to come up in the inspection. What also do they not know?
When it's gonna sell.
Yeah.
Let's say those
Is,
then.
is this going to sell? When will it sell? And if it goes under contract,
Contingencies.
what if they back out? There's a lot of questions. And you think people aren't thinking some of this stuff? Like you're kidding yourself. So, how many things did we just give you? 10, 11? That's the value you bring, Cody, to the deal. So I would screenshot that and put it on your mirror or something in your bathroom. And when your family comes in and they're like, "What is all that?" It's like, "That's the value I bring, dude."
That's the value I'm bringing. Yeah,
Cool. Thank you all for hopping on here. Griffin, thank you so much, dude, for taking the time to give us some great gems. It was really helpful for me to hear, and I think it was really helpful for everyone else. So
Yeah, dude.
yep.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Griffin.
Thanks for
cool.
the questions as well.
Absolutely. Y'all have a great rest of your week. I'll see you next Wednesday. Let me know if you need
Appreciate
anything
it.
in the meantime.
And this will be posted in the chat, right? The
Oh
recording.
yes, the video. Yes, I'll post it in
Okay.
there. Cool, buddy. All right, I'll see you at the
Yeah.
Y. Peace.
See you at the
Bye, y'all.
Y.